Fucking get here now. Come on.
No,
you look lovely.
Not wearing this.
You look
I'm not
lovely.
wearing...
Everyone wants one. All the cool cats have got them. Get here now, or I will hurt you.
Oh.
You look lovely. Buy one. Buy them all.
I'm Jack from WhatCulture.com, and this is the Fast Count. First, let's start off with all of this week's WWE news. First off, we have the announcement that Stephanie McMahon will be publishing her memoirs sometime later this year. The Billion Dollar Princess will be writing an autobiography of sorts, but don't expect it to be a tell-all exposing the business. We all know that Vince would never allow that to happen, and Stephanie probably wouldn't want it to happen either. But what it does tell us is that Stephanie's probably going to be in a position of power soon. We all know she's going to be the heir to WWE's throne, and this seems to only solidify that more. Secondly, we have news regarding John Cena. Now, Cena's slated to return at the end of this month on Memorial Day. However, a recent announcement by the building that match is going to take place in has given us a few clues as to possible future results of WWE's matches. An advert from the Resch Center in Green Bay, Wisconsin, where Cena's return is slated to happen, says that John will be teaming up with Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose in a 6-man tag against The Club. Now, this would seem to imply that this Sunday at Extreme Rules, AJ and The Club will be sticking together, potentially quashing rumours of a Finn Balor return, or maybe an AJ Styles betrayal angle. But then again, you have to remember as well that this would likely be a dark match, and that, as always, the card is subject to change. So it's good for speculation, but certainly nothing concrete. And thirdly, you may have heard there's been a massive shake-up in the women's division. Recent NXT call-up Emma underwent successful back surgery recently, but this will keep her out for the foreseeable future. And this means that her tag partner Dana Brooke has been pushed onto a higher platform than she's probably ready for at this stage. Dana now assumes the rather important mantle of second biggest heel in the division behind Charlotte, and this means that she'll be sort of carrying forwards Emma's role in the feud. She's already had matches with babyfaces such as Becky Lynch and Paige, but is she ready for it yet? I guess only time will tell. And now all the rest of the news from elsewhere in the wacky crazy wacky world of pro wrestling. What the f*** is that? Huge news for all the fans of New Japan Pro Wrestling out there. Tomorrow sees the start of a new tournament, Best of the Super Juniors. This annual event can kind of be considered the equivalent to WWE's old Cruiserweight division, and it puts all the sort of lighter, more agile stars into 2 different blocks, Block A and Block B, and they have a round-robin tournament each, and then the 2 winners progress into a final, and it's full of some amazing names. Some of the frontrunners of that tournament include Kushida, who of course won the tournament last year and is the current junior heavyweight champion, Bushi, an ally of current heavyweight champion Tetsuya Naito, Will Ospreay, the newest member of Chaos, who of course moved over from the UK scene, both members of Red Dragon, Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish, and finally Ricochet, also known as Prince Puma over in Lucha Underground. So you can see it's an absolutely star-studded lineup and should provide some fantastic matches over the next few weeks. Now some news from over in Lucha Underground, where Chavo Guerrero is the new Gift of the Gods champion. Now, for those who aren't quite clear on what the Gift of the Gods Championship is, it's basically Lucha Underground's equivalent of the Money in the Bank contract, but it's also defended like a real belt too. Chavo only won the deciding match because Brian Cage, who he's feuding with at the minute, came out, destroyed everyone else in the bout, and then laid Chavo on top for the pinfall. And it's very confusing why he's done this, because they're bitter rivals at the minute. But then again, you've got to consider, will they be having a match in the future? It certainly looks that way, and we could see Cage receive a title shot whenever he wants. And finally, some news from TNA. On this week's Impact, we saw a match between Drew Galloway and Lashley, and it was a lumberjack match, and you might think this would lead to all sorts of shenanigans, and it did, but it also had maybe one of the worst main event finishes of the year so far. The match was nothing more than sort of a desperate advert for Slammiversary, which is of course next month, and it saw all the lumberjacks who were feuding with each other get in the ring and have a bit of a very clear face-off, and it was very, very obvious what they were trying to do, and it didn't really work, especially as the match then just ended with Galloway leaping over the ropes onto everyone amassed below, and then it just ended. And now for all of this week's delectable takeaways. First up, of course, it's Extreme Rules this Sunday, and everyone's wondering what the show is going to be like. A couple of late additions to the card include the Usos v The Club, not like we've seen that before every week for the past month, and also the Chris Jericho v Dean Ambrose Asylum match, which, if done right, could be a very hard-hitting, very impactful bout, and if done badly, could just be the same as Lesnar v Ambrose back at WrestleMania 32. So I'm not too hopeful for the show, but I'm certainly not too skeptical either. It's a firm thumbs in the middle for Extreme Rules. Secondly, I mentioned it in the last section, but Slammiversary is right around the corner, and could this represent the sort of final hurrah for TNA before it disappears off the face of the wrestling landscape? The card includes a World Championship match between Galloway and Lashley, a grudge match between EC3 and Mike Bennett, and another feud between the Hardy Boys, and it's sort of a very middle of the road card, certainly not the most impressive that TNA have put on in their history, and it really could represent the sort of last hurrah, except it would be more like a last... Third and finally, is AJ Styles going to win at Extreme Rules? Because we know how huge and seismic a change that will be in the wrestling world. AJ Styles, an indie darling, Mr. TNA, winning the World Heavyweight Champion. He's not going to. He's not going to. That's all we've got time for this week on the Fast Count. Well, no, seriously, he's not going to. As I said, that's all we've got time for this week on the Fast Count. I've been Jack from WhatCulture.com, and I'm a loyal subject, and I'll see you soon.
WhatCulture.com are releasing a new magazine about wrestling, and it's called Wrestling. It'll have 140 pages of timeless wrestling content, including a brand new How WWE Should Have Booked written by this virulent son of a bitch. It will also have a list of the 100 best wrestling matches of all time compiled by WhatCulture staff and wrestling insiders. So the magazine is available to pre-order now. Follow the link in the description and enjoy WhatCulture.com's Wrestling.